I call this work session meeting of the San Marcos City Council to order. Today is Tuesday, August 5th. The time is 3 o'clock. Ms. Trevino, let's see who's here.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Here.
Mr. Saul Gonzalez. Ms. Garza. Mayor Houston.
Here.
Mr. Scott.
Here.
Mr. Mendoza.
Here.
Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez. We have a quorum present.
Okay, citizen comment time period. The City Council will hear citizen comments at work sessions, workshops, and regular meetings. Persons wishing to speak during this time period must sign up in advance. Speakers may speak once during the citizen comment time period and may not yield time to others. You have 3 minutes to speak when you state your name. You'll see a timer on the screen. You'll start in the green. When the timer shows only yellow, you will have less than 20 seconds left. When the timer is red, your time to speak is up and a bell will ring. Mayor and council will endeavor to ensure that meetings are conducted in a courteous manner and an atmosphere free of defamation, intimidation, personal insults, profanity, or threats of violence. If you do any of those, you'll hear the gavel. I will ask you to leave the council chambers. If you need help doing so, our officer will assist you. This is your warning. And we have 4 people signed up. First is Ana Juarez. Next is Maxfield Baker, who may be joining us online. Okay. Mr. Baker, your turn.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. Yeah, so thank you all for some really good work session items today. I noticed later on you'll be going into executive session. I hope that you really consider the purchase of that property. And I saw today some news about the county kind of considering potentially something along the same lines. The main reason I come to speak to you today is regarding your agenda item and the National Community Survey. I honestly, part of what drove me to start the San Marcos Civics Club was the outcomes of the survey previously. Notably that when surveyed, our community thought that San Marcos government was not very transparent and not very honest, rated at 35% and 33%. I will give you all credit. We've seen a lot of great things done in this past year, such as hosting more dream sessions, more intentional community outreach. But we as the Civics Club continue to talk about ways to improve that, namely making something like the draft agenda that we have to request through open records to be publicly available instead of only in our sphere of influence. We think that y'all need to host town halls while the dream sessions kind of fit these really specific categories. I think that the specificity is lost on some folks that want to just come and get general grievances out. I also think that, and again, this is sort of things we've talked about at the Civics Club, having a better website that has more ADA accessibility built into it, as well as something that's on your agenda for executive session tonight, the appointee evaluations. As a former council member, I know what that process looks like. And it's frustrating to now be on the outside and not know what the goals you're setting for our appointees, who are our highest paid members of staff, with the city manager making well over $200,000, as well as our city legal, the municipal court judge, and the city clerk. They don't make over $200,000, just to be clear. They make above $100,000 still, though. And also, making sure that when community members have issues, our representative form of government says we go to city council and you all, do something to those city staff members that then leads down to accountability. And when I've asked what accountability looks like, really all I've gotten from those appointees is that if we're not doing our job, we'll be fired. When you could maybe write resolutions of, basically like not non-confidence in the work that they're doing, or publicly speak out on your own behalf about how good of a job they're doing. But right now you do this kind of rating system that goes into a void, and the community doesn't even know if you all are doing your jobs as our representatives to hold those folks accountable to some degree, because we still continue to see them receive bonuses every single year. And when you do
Our next speaker is Saul Huerta or Terrence Sanders. Circling back to Ana Juarez, Not seeing them here, we will move on to, is she there? Is she
Hello,
online?
yes, yes,
Okay.
I'm here. Thank you. Um, good afternoon, Mayor and members of the City Council. I want to thank you for agreeing to brainstorm ways to help the local Mexican American community preserve the heart and soul of San Marcos's first known neighborhood. I sense that all of you love the idea of preserving the property located behind the historic Southside School to memorialize Mexican American history and culture. More importantly, I have faith that you and city staff have both the will and the resourcefulness to work with the county and the ISD to realize this project. As an anthropologist who has conducted community-based research projects with the local Mexican American community over the last quarter century, I can readily provide evidence to show how much local Mexican American history and culture has been neglected and erased. But today I want to talk about some other sides of that history. I want to speak of the community's strength, resilience, creativity, resourcefulness, faith, and hope. This is a community that, unlike most, continues to have two active mutual aid organizations dating to the early 1900s, La Sociedad Cuauhtémoc and San Pedro Cemetery Association. Churches host fiestas and jamaicas. We have menudo cook-offs, car shows, and bailes. We have living Mexican American cemeteries, and we've had so much more in the past. But our community is being threatened, often unintentionally, by marginalization, neglect, displacement, and gentrification. Too often, we are not on anyone's radar. This, combined with the fact that historical preservation models have traditionally depended on the preservation of architectural integrity, contributes to our erasure. This means that two of our earliest historic neighborhoods have been eradicated by urban renewal. It means that our neighborhoods will never qualify to become historic districts. It means that even historic spaces that have officially been on the city or county's radar still get demolished. But I am here to tell you that our community has plenty of ganas. So far, almost 900 people signed a petition asking you and the county to help us preserve this historic parcel. I'm imploring you to put your heads together and figure out a way to save the heart and soul of the first known Mexican American neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Okay. And I believe now we can have presentation one?
Yes.
Okay.
Receive a staff presentation, hold discussion regarding the community survey, and provide direction to the city manager.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. In the fall of 2022, the City of San Marcos partnered with Polco to conduct the National Community Survey. As the first community-wide survey administered in San Marcos since 2015, the survey gathered valuable feedback from residents to guide decision-making and strategic planning related to a variety of topics, including housing affordability, transportation, education, recreational opportunities, and civic engagement. The city seeks to re-administer the survey periodically to provide data-driven community perceptions and track changes in public sentiment on these and other important issues. Polco is a leader in administering comprehensive surveys designed for local governments, utilizing refined methodologies that are statistically valid to accurately reflect communities and benchmark performances in key areas against other municipalities and provide context for the results. We have a representative here from Polco who can provide a presentation and answer any questions that council members may have. And I believe he joins us online.
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor, Council, and staff. Appreciate you having me this afternoon. My name is Alec Weiss. I am the Director of Account Management here at Polco. Happy to give you an overview of the process itself, provide some context in terms of the other tools we have available to you, both like during the NCS and then afterwards, and then answer any questions that you might have about the process or the results that you receive moving forward. So here at Polko, really our goal, the overarching view of it is to just provide you with the data that you need to make the best possible decisions. That's kind of this slide. Happy to click on to the next one here. So as was mentioned, we've been doing this for a long time. So we used to be called National Research Center. That was what originally the company was called. We've been doing valid surveys for about 30 years under that name, started out in Boulder, Colorado. We've done community surveys now with well over 1,000 municipalities, currently working with roughly 500 on a consistent basis, such as yourself, in over 40 states. Most of the communities that we work with use it similarly to how you are. So every other year they do a national community survey and then some intermittent engagement along the way. So you're certainly not alone. And then I'll get into some other communities too around Texas and then your region that we work with that might be familiar names. Next slide. Here's just a couple of them. There's a couple more examples at the end too, but I think New Braunfels is probably your closest neighbor that does the National Community Survey. They'll be both in your national benchmarks. So we compile national benchmarks for the NCS and then also custom benchmarks, which I'll elaborate on a little bit in just a moment. Next slide. So here's the tools that we offer. So the ones we'll really be talking about today, this is Assess. That's like the National Community Survey. That's all of our valid surveys. So we do employee surveys, topical surveys, so like Parks and Rec, everything like that. The most common is the National Community Survey that we do. We also have Engage. And so this is like an ongoing engagement platform, which the city takes advantage of. I believe there was just a Parks and Rec survey that went out in regards to that. And then Track, that'll be probably a little bit more useful when we get to the end of the survey process. So this is like real world hard data that exists for every community in the US. We've gathered it for, I think it's every community over like 2,000 in the US. And so then you can see not only sentiment data, but then also what's going on kind of in the hard real world data. And then what are the differences there between those two. And then finally, balancing act. So this is budget simulations and budget engagement, which the city also takes advantage of, and I believe took advantage of in the spring as well. Next slide. So the NCS itself, as I mentioned, thousands of communities use it. It focuses on the 10 facets of livability. You can also add in custom questions, which the city does have access to. And so anything that isn't covered in this instrument, but you're like, we really do want access to this insight or this piece of information, you'll be able to provide that feedback and then really shape what else that you're looking to gather. There's also customizable demographic information. So like if you want to gather information from student population within the city, those crosstabs, those breakdowns will also be available to you. And if there's anything else that you'd like to break the data down by, that will be available to you as well. So kind of looking at the process, I think it has 4 bullets here. I think it's really 3 portions. So the first portion is probably where you'll be the most involved. So that's custom question creation, that's sampling, which I'll get into in just a second, and then making sure that the mailing materials and the sampling plan is how you would like. So custom questions, if you have topics that you're looking for, answers that you want to questions, or then we can help design those. So even if you just have an idea, you'll be assigned a project manager. So this is their full-time job. They are survey experts, and so they're great at crafting questions that are not leading, that would be valid. And so they'll come up with questions that really provide the data that you're looking for. So that's the beginning. And then sampling as well. So there's 2 portions to that. Portion number 1, so it'll be a random sample. We'll ingest a list of all households in the community within your zip code, and then we'll take a GIS file, an outline file of the community, exclude any addresses that are outside of that. And then we can also do sub-geographic areas. So if you wanted to do different breakdowns by districts, things like that, we can provide that as well. So then we'll weight that sample accordingly of 3,500 households. We'll also be sure to include the student population there as well. And so we'll typically, it doesn't have to be this way, but typically we would slightly oversample for multifamily. So 5 to 3, those populations tend to be a little bit more transient and move a little bit more. So higher bounce rate, that gives us kind of the sample that we're looking for. So that's step 1. And then everyone in that sample will receive 2 pieces of invitation. First is going to be a postcard, which we'll look at exactly what that looks like in just a moment. That's got a QR code on it and then a unique URL inviting them to come take the survey. If the household has multiple people over 18 years old, then it'll just be the person with the most recent birthday. And then everyone will receive a mailed survey packet as well. And so if they would prefer to take it, maybe there's concerns about online anonymity, or they just prefer to take it manually, then every household within that sample, they'll receive a mailed copy of that as well, about a week later in the mail. So that's piece one. That's the scientifically valid portion. The second portion is the open participation portion. So anyone in the community who was not part of that 3,500 household sample during the last 2 weeks of data collection, they will be asked to come and provide their feedback. We certainly want that. Those two data sets, we do keep them separate. So you'll have both data sets to look at to see if there's any differences there. Looks like you all did a great job during the last iteration, like almost 1,000 responses on the open participation. So kudos there. But we will provide you with an outreach kit, is what we call it. And that's just like language that you can put out to Facebook, anywhere online, post to your website, just sort of best practices that we have. Take it or leave it, but that's sort of what we see in order to garner the most response. And that can also help to like pre-notify the community that this survey is coming. It's important. It's used in the decision-making process. So that's data collection. That'll be 6 weeks. And then a couple weeks after that, then you'll be presented with the report of results. And that then also will pick out the custom benchmarks that we want to use at that time as well. Next slide. So here's taking a look at the examples of the postcard on the left. And then on the right, obviously, there'll be a mailed survey packet within. We'll also have translations on these. And so you do have a Spanish translation included. So it'll have invitations to complete the survey both in English and in Spanish. This is customizable, so it will have the signature of who you would like on there, and then also the city logo. If there's any language that you'd like to adjust, we're certainly open to that as well. And then reporting, so just wanted to provide a couple samples of what this would look like. So on the right here, you'll see trend lines. Because this is your second NCS, you will get trend lines, so you can see, you can benchmark against yourself. Did we improve? What areas went up? What areas went down? You'll also have access to national benchmarks, which is the 500 communities that have taken the NCS in the last 5 years. It's their most recent iteration, if there's more than one. And then you'll also have access to custom benchmarks. So this can be geographical. This can be based off of education level, income, all sorts of different information, population, or a combination of these. And you'll actually be able to see what exactly those communities are. And so we'll send you the list for your approval. But if there's any that you're like, nah, we don't consider them a comp, we can pull them out, but you'll be able to see exactly what that looks like. And then you'll also, on the left here, you'll be able to see a gap analysis. And so this is looking at the quality and importance as rated by the community for each one of these facets. And so maybe there's something that, it's rated as a low quality, but also super low importance. Maybe it's not something we necessarily need to prioritize. Or maybe there is a gap where people are saying it is really important, but the quality is a little bit lower. Something that maybe deserves a second glance there. And then you'll have access to this for every single question on here, but this is kind of the most general overview. And then this is where I think Track can become helpful. So again, it's a large database of 450 indicators for every community in the US, and you'll be able to see these side by side. They're organized across the 10 facets of livability that we do for the NCS. I think probably the most succinct view is going to be on the next slide, if we want to go to that one. Yeah, there we go. And so then this will be a combination of the sentiment data that we have plus the track data. And then if you want to dive into like what each one of these indicators are, you can click into there and you'll be able to see what is being factored in, both from the sentiment side and then also from the track side. But it can be a helpful next step there as well. And then finally, I just wanted to provide some feedback or some examples of other communities across the state and then the Southwest as well that conduct the National Community Survey frequently with us. From there, I'll open it up to questions.
I have a question for council, and I'm sorry I had to step out to get some paperwork. Ms. Surley, Ms. Reyes, are we still going to have the local questions? Are we still allowed the 5?
Yes, ma'am.
One of the biggest parts of this conversation that I'd like to make
Right.
sure that we have is to determine what kind of custom questions y'all would like to include. It really depends on space of the survey, but last year we did, or in 2022, we included 5 questions. and I can
Right.
share those with y'all when y'all are ready.
Can we get them on the screen? I pulled them out of the packet somewhere along the line, or maybe, I think it was in the ARF, the agenda review
Yes, it was in the ARF.
form.
Yes, ma'am.
And until we can get them on the screen, well, let me just see what other questions there might be, and buy folks some time to bring that information onto the screen. The questions that they have are the ones that they scientifically have determined, need to be asked in most places, and that they ask across the nation. And we can see where we stand with them, but we do get 5. While we're waiting for them, let me just read the first one. These are things that we asked for in 2022, is that correct? Okay, 2022. Please indicate how often, if at all, do you leave San Marcos to frequent each of the following types of businesses in nearby communities: grocery stores, club or wholesale retailers, fast food restaurants, casual dine-in restaurants, upscale fine dining restaurants, bars, nightlife, boutique private retail shopping opportunities, large-scale big box shopping opportunities, and personal services. And they split each one of those out, and we got responses for those. And that was, for me, it was very helpful to know we were looking for how many of our dollars and our sales tax dollars are going outside of our community. So that was one that, I'll just say, I think that's fine, and to keep that one. Here it is, it's on the screen. So, so are we good with that one for the moment? Okay. Next one, I'll just go ahead and read this one. Please indicate whether you think the city of San Marcos should actively pursue attracting more of each type of business: grocery stores, club or wholesale retailers, fast food restaurants, casual dining restaurants, upscale fine dining restaurants, bars, nightlife, boutique, private retail shopping opportunities, large-scale big box retail, and personal services. And so we did get results on those, and I thought it was kind of interesting, and I was inspired that 40% said never on a lot of these. So it was good to know, but it was also good to know that some do. And for each of these, they did ask twice a week, weekly, few times a month, or never. So we really got some good data on that. I thought that was well done. So on the second one, this is about the city, should we actively pursue, and it's the same type of businesses. I'm checking to see if y'all are good with that. Okay, that's what the survey showed us last time, is that,
Is there a way to add a choice on there, Lauren?
Yes.
Because one thing that
What
I
do you wanna
hear
add?
a lot for council's consideration is in regard to family entertainment.
yep,
And so I think that's something that would be really helpful to just have in there, so that helps to let council know where people are on that.
so we would want to put that on question 1, do you go out of town for that? And then 2, should we try to bring more here? I think that's great. Would you get closer to your microphone and turn on your,
I put
Thank
on
you.
question 2.
we're gonna put it on 1 and 2.
Oh, you want to put on 1 and 2?
Yeah, do you go out of town for that now, and do you think we should bring some in? I think it's good to know people are doing that. I wish we'd thought of that 5 years ago, but better late than never. Everybody okay with adding that?
Oh, yeah,
for
that's a
questions
question
1
I
and
get
2?
all the time.
Actually, on the second paragraph here is, since we're going to be adding family,
Uh-huh.
we're going in that direction, could we just go ahead and knock out bars and just leave nightlife? So it says
Just
bars
say
and
nightlife and not say bars?
If we can, I'm just, if we're trying to focus on more family-friendly stuff, I just kind of wanted to make it just obvious.
What are most people's perceptions of nightlife?
I guess it's just
Bars?
the bars, yeah, so that's what I'm saying, but still, that's why nightlife would kind of be general, instead of just saying.
I wouldn't
it's
know how to answer
particular.
that. But if
Pretty
everybody else
synonymous.
does, it's okay.
Okay, I
I
just
mean,
thought it
they're
out
pretty
there.
synonymous.
They don't have to be. There's nightlife things that don't involve drinking, but I don't know how many of those there are. I wish we had more. Putt-putt golf?
Like a strip club? Like, what are we talking about? What's
Wait,
different
what?
than? That's what I'm saying. How is it not synonymous? I guess what's the objective?
Well, just
Let me
because we're
try
trying to focus on family-friendly stuff,
Then
But the
should we say-
agency, but the
Yeah.
purpose of the survey though is to gauge like allow the person to exercise their own agency as to what they wish.
Right.
So if we're
Okay.
putting another option, they have the to select it, not select it. They don't have to select bars.
Right.
As many people didn't.
What
That
if
was
we
like in the
said
never category.
nightlife, not bars?
Well, that's what I'm saying, not like, take out bars.
No, I'm not saying take off bars. I'm saying
Oh,
literally
nightlife.
say nightlife, not bars.
Oh,
Then we might get the response that you're looking
I
for.
would be kind of cool with that. But, I mean, Mr. Rodriguez is right, they do have the
don't know
option
what it would be.
to not answer it.
Is
We
this,
can leave it as it is, yeah.
leave
Are
alone?
you trying to
Leave it as it
gauge,
is.
are you trying to gauge like Evo type of thing where it's like nightlife but family friendly? Is that what you're trying to gauge, Matthew?
Kind of. I mean, and I'm thinking downtown here, which I really should be focusing on just downtown, but we've been pushing as council for a few terms here, people have been here, that family friendly. And I just don't know how it's going to, again, because I'm reading it like this, not thinking about the way
Some
it's listed.
people might think of the places where you hang out and smoke, whatever vaping or whatever the thing is. They might think that's what we're talking about. And I don't know if a tattoo parlor that stays open late is considered nightlife or not, simply because it stays open late.
Actually, it is a culture, but if the rest of the council's fine with even the way it is, and the option's still available for somebody to choose it, that's fine. It seems pretty common language here. Okay.
Leave it as is. Okay. So, now the third one is, in May of 2022, the city approved an economic development policy to encourage and support high-quality new business development and the expansion of its business community through retention and recruitment endeavors. Please tell us how much you agree or disagree with the following. This policy is right for the city of San Marcos. This policy will help move the city move in a positive direction. Yes, ma'am.
So I went through all the different questions. This is the question, though, that I think of it from the perspective of somebody who is not aware of what that policy
Right.
and has not read it. For me, I just think I couldn't be able to actually respond to this in a way without going through that policy and like, I just don't feel like it's an easy question for a survey like this.
Yeah, if y'all want to jump to, in your packet, page 45, were the responses. And the responses were pretty close to both of them. Strongly agree, 27 or 33%. Somewhat agree, 57 and 52. So,
Maybe like
I-
including, oh, sorry. Oh, yes,
I guess I have a
Garza?
question. I have a question like kind of on the same vibe. Like going back to questions, like for each of those categories, is there, and I can't remember, forgive me, is there like some kind of like glossary or something so that the respondents even understand what type of development, like what's each of those developments? Does that make sense? Because like, yeah, we know what those things are, but I feel like the layperson might not.
yeah, and there's not a there's not a link, because this is paper, correct? But there's not a web page noted of where somebody could go look up that information. Let's set this one aside for a moment, go over the next two, because for me, if we want to add a new one, this is the one that can go. And so let's just set 3 aside for a moment and go with, I'm going to read item 4. How much of a source, if at all, are each of the following for you for getting information about the City of San Marcos government and its activities, events, and services? And each one was asked: city website, regional media outlets, government access channel, San Marcos council meetings, and other public meetings, talking with San Marcos officials and/or San Marcos employees, City of San Marcos communications via social media, word of mouth, direct mailings, and utility bill stuffers. I think that's one that's important for us to, because we're always sitting up here going, how are people getting information?
I'd actually like to ask not to put you on the spot, but I mean, I feel like communications really would benefit from the results of this particular part of the survey. Do you feel that there are any, I guess first, do you agree with what we already have? And do you feel that maybe there are additional things that we should add to see if people are looking at?
I definitely agree with including it because it is very important for us to all know how people are gathering their information that we're putting out. We can look over this, but I know that my team did look at this last time in 2022, and we were happy with the choices here.
Okay.
Yeah, and each of those was a separate choice. When we was talking about communications via social media, that was one. Word of mouth was something separate. Direct mailings was something different. So, and what the responses were was major source, minor source, and not a source, were what the responses were. So, are we good on keeping this one? Definitely keeping this one? Okay.
Just checking, Ms. Garza still has her hand up. I didn't know if she had anything related to.
And I can't, hold on, let me get to my Zoom session over here.
Oh, maybe not. It went down.
I don't.
Oh,
don't
thank
even
you.
see it.
I appreciate it, but no, I am good for now.
Okay.
The only other thing, Lauren, real quick, Mayor, if you, like your news hub and stuff that's gone out, do you feel like that's specific enough? I mean, the news hub is actually a really amazing source of information. It recaps council meetings. It has a whole bunch of information about timely events. If that's a subscription, so that was one thing. And then I know, like Greg Carr, we had talked also about, you know, even if there are like newspaper inserts or things like that that could be done to get the people who aren't on social or aren't part of these subscription lists. But just wanting to make sure you have the right things there that capture some of those interests.
Yeah, we have launched the newsletter since the 2022 News Hub. So that is something that we can definitely look at adding. And since you mentioned Director Carr, that might be exactly where you're going
We're
next.
going the same
message
direction.
signs.
You go
I
right
think
ahead,
that would
yes.
be good to include as well.
Yes, okay, yes.
We spent money on those.
Yes. And y'all put them in good spots, too.
The, whatever, mobile message boards or, I wouldn't leave it just message board because that sounds static. Okay, I'll leave that up to y'all. All right, so those are more choices and we're all still good with that?
I was wondering, hold on. So the question asks how much of a source, right? So it's like the ones that already exist, but like we're not asking like what else would work beyond that, right? Like we're just asking how much of the choices that are listed there.
Ms. Surley, can we have an other? And people fill that in? Is that an option with Polko?
There is another option. I don't know if it's what they would normally do per question, but at the very end, there's anything else you'd like to tell us. I can talk with the Polko team though and see if that is something we can add at the bottom of that
I
question.
think this is one that would probably be good
Yeah, fair.
to add.
Absolutely fair.
So
Yeah.
if we can. Thank
Yeah,
you, Ms.
because
Garza.
I just saw a lot, it was like really good engagement, like canvassing and going door to door during emergencies and the pandemic and like going and I get tons of information whenever stuff is just like posted at local joints,
Yeah.
coffee shops, videos. And I know our city staff has been making efforts to increase those types of
That's actually a really
areas. So I
good,
wonder, yeah.
yeah, that's a really good point. I know local
I can't quite follow her. She's cutting out a lot. If you'll repeat what you
The
heard her say.
aspect of, I think she was I'm not trying to quote her, but I think she mentioned an aspect that we hadn't considered, and that is whether it's the city, I know at Centro, for example, the city has done a good job at bringing us flyers, and we post it so people can see, and people do get that, their information from things like that. And I'm trying to think of one of these current categories that would fit that. I mean,
It
I
would
guess
be
word of mouth,
Yeah,
community
communication with
organizations.
local organizations who then get the word out. So I think, are you seeing city things from places other than directly from the city? Like a flyer, it could be at the convenience store or
Yeah,
wherever.
because I know we've talked about, I mean, and it is a lot of work, but I know we've talked about as a council, potentially like going out and canvassing, as Ms. Garza just mentioned. That is sort of a form of canvassing. Even like what our efforts on economic development side of like going directly to businesses, that's a form of canvassing that gives information out. And so if people are receptive to that, I'd like to see if we could measure that as well.
Okay, Ms. Hurley has that. Are y'all good with that? Okay, so we're all good with that. Let me go with the last one. How important, if at all, is it for the city of San Marcos to focus on each of the following? Improving the east of downtown public parking. Next one, assessing, addressing the impacts of tourism on our city's natural resources. And that counts as one question, but it was split into a couple of spaces, and I'm trying to get back to my PDF here.
So it is ease rather than east, right?
You're right.
Okay.
You are I looked at that and went, that does not make sense, so thank
Yeah.
you. And the responses on the ease of downtown, and the options were essential, 33%, very important, 31, somewhat important, 26, not at all, 10. And then the impacts of tourism on our natural resources, 59, essential. Very important was 21, somewhat 15, and not at all is 4%. Now, I'm in the one, I'm going to say the official one, Ms. Surley. We had the 242 respondents. And I suspect that in the other one of 800, those percentages may stay the same. But anyway, so do we want to keep that one, and do we need to add one to any of this? Do we want to ask people how they feel about paid parking in the park? And do we want to ask people how they feel about some of the changes that we're making with park access? I think that could be really important.
Those are changes that we're gonna make regardless, so I don't know if that's a question you ask after the fact.
We
I mean,
might
given
change
the,
what we're doing depending on.
given the pilot nature of the city park one, for example, I mean, it's gonna have to come back to us to see if we wanna continue that regardless. So I think, I don't know if the turnaround would even be in the same time frame, but I do think it would be a beneficial question. I mean, those two topics are some of the most polarizing conversations I have.
Yeah, the park, the admission, the fee. Should there be a in-between fee for people who, this is gonna get long, I don't know how we shorten this up. Basically, people who don't pay property tax, but they still have a San Marcos address and they're paying sales tax. So should there be, if this is $5, maybe theirs is $3, or something like that. That's something I would like to know, how people feel about that. And then, the paid parking, I don't know what the options would be. I think y'all could work on that and let us know. Do y'all want those? I'm gonna say park access and paid parking in the park. Do we even want to go there about paid parking downtown? Okay.
The only thing that I will say on the park access is the life safety aspect, if us having no fencing, is very, very concerning. And of course, we're going to talk about that for another day.
Right.
All I'm trying to kind of think through my head as you're talking about it is just, what are the realistic points of view? Because if it starts to create distrust, it's because if you get an overwhelming majority who say a certain thing and then we don't follow what they say. And so I don't want to create unrealistic expectations. If there are some life safety aspects that we have to be able to really take into consideration that aren't really choices, but are there aspects of that we can think about,
That's why I didn't bring up closing the street, because that's a good thing. That's a safety thing, and we just need to keep doing that. So I didn't bring that one up.
And I mean, even the temporary fencing, it is gonna be temporary in nature as far as what we're proposing to y'all, and of course, y'all would decide that. But that's something that honestly, just with what we know and understand from the past, that has been such a big safety issue if you were to leave it open the way it has always been. And so the charging part is something we'll have to talk about. And so that's something that I think could be in a survey, because then that's a policy decision. But I just would want to make sure we're framing it for the things that we really are amenable to having input from the public and are truly going to take what they say and actually use that in
So
our
the
policy
park
decision.
entry fee or whatever.
Something like that.
Y'all, we can
Does that make
ask
sense?
about that, and then I don't know what the options are gonna be. And do we want to ask about paid parking in the park?
No, because paid parking in the parks was originally set up out-of-town people as an income. People who are in San Marcos don't have to pay for parking,
Correct.
so.
If they get
I
the
don't
car
think you need to-
registered.
I don't think you need to ask that question.
Okay.
It's pointless.
And you don't want to ask about paid parking downtown?
I will say though, people are interested in discussing it though. I mean, even
Well,
at
the
the
paid
most,
parking downtown,
even
you get 30 minutes for free.
yeah, but
you know.
perhaps there's a way in which we could ask like the general consensus on if people even like paid parking as a whole though.
But
Because when I say
that's
like
not
this
our
is one of the
target.
most polarizing topics that is brought forward to me, you have major proponents, yes, but major opponents who are also residents.
And we've been talking about it for 11 years.
And I've only been part of it for a little bit and have already gotten a small taste of it. So I think
It hasn't
people-
changed.
I do think people are interested in potentially giving their feedback on it. Now, what we do with it is another thing, but
Well, think about the people that are giving the feedback, though. They're not getting charged. The whole idea.
We're talking about
is-
downtown.
Well, even downtown, it applies to students that are taking up the parking spots. That was the initial take on doing it to begin with.
efficacy. Like, I guess that's what I want to see is like, do people feel that it's an effective measure or effective tool? I want to see that.
Are we sending out a survey for parking individually? It's like, does the parking,
Well, the committee has
committee itself.
surveyed, downtown business owners and others, but this would be for the public.
for the public?
We have not had any kind of survey on that, have we, Ms. Sarli, Ms. Reyes, that I know of, on paid parking downtown that was,
There was a survey
Across the
that was
board?
public on paid parking downtown. I don't know that there's been one,
how long ago was that?
just a few months, pretty recently.
No, that wasn't for ever, well, yeah, it was.
Yeah, it went to the public.
That's right, it was. I remember we had two different instruments. One was for downtown businesses and one was for, yeah, we've already done it. Okay.
Ms. Garza has her.
Ms. Garza?
I guess could a question be like how important is it to even measure the community's perceptions about paid parking, right? Because I feel like there's like kind of like a back and forth of the like conversation here, like do we even do it or not? So yeah, I don't know, because I'm reading how the question is structured. Yeah.
The difference in this one, putting it on here, and the one that was opened here a few months ago, I don't remember how many responses they had. I know it was open for a long time. But that was still a, what do you call it, self-selected? And this one is supposed to be more statistically significant?
Correct, yeah, there's a portion where it is statistically selected by their mailing addresses,
Right.
and then it will also open up to the public and
Yeah.
be sent out through social media
Right.
and those kind of things.
The other thing
Okay.
that we're going to have to really think about as a community, I know we'll talk about it more during the budget process, is just with what is being proposed at the legislative level in terms of property tax caps and things of that nature, we're going to have to figure out how we get our revenues and if it's not economic development, if it's not, charging your residents for some of the stuff, then is it charging the people who are coming in from out of town for different things? So it's just going to be more philosophical that we'll all have to just kind of think about things in this changing world that we're all living in when it comes to what types of decision-making authority cities are going to have for revenues and trying to make sure that we're able to have a financially sustainable community. So those are just some things that I just want to horizon, in terms of how we look at it. It doesn't mean we don't get community context. It's just that sometimes when we ask these questions without context and all they know is just purely, do you feel like we should pay for something or not? But they don't really understand why that question's even necessary to ask, then they're going to answer based on what information they know and have.
Right.
And so that's the only other part that I would say might be helpful in whatever we do, just ensuring that there's a little bit of context on that.
And because of that, I'm okay with leaving it generic like we have it right now.
Wait.
Wait, I
have
think
what
that
right
that's
now?
kind of the opposite of what.
right there.
But I think what she just mentioned though is like, given the changing nature, I don't think people realize that we're having to we're having to create different ways of funding streams. People don't have that context. So I think without that context, asking them to answer that question without understanding, oh wait, maybe this is something that needs to happen.
That's a lot to actually add, so how would we
I think
inform
we
them
can
that's okay?
condense it. I mean, the experts get paid for that, so.
But so considering the packets we have to go through and all the decisions we have to make, if we want to make it equal to them, that's just a lot of information for them to get when this is just supposed to give us an idea of the direction to go into. I just fear that's just a lot of information. I mean, they deserve to have it, but it's putting into the survey.
Well, my suggestion would be not to shoehorn it into item 5, but to replace item 3 on the economic development policy separately that we're addressing so that we can fully describe it, not make it as one of 5 other things or something. So I've got, Mr. Scott is no, let's not talk about paid parking downtown. Ms. Rodriguez, you are,
I'm a yes, yeah, I'd like them
That's
to
what I thought.
workshop a question.
okay. Ms. Garza?
I'm good.
I think it's good to ask. Mr. Mendoza?
I'm a no for the downtown paid parking.
And Mr. Gonzalez, Lorenzo Gonzalez. I know you've just joined us, but maybe you picked up enough on what we're asking. This is the custom questions for the Polco survey.
I mean, I think it doesn't hurt to ask, so I guess yes.
Okay, I think the next part is what the options are going to be. You can't just say, should we have it or not? People are going to go, I need to know more about that. One question they might have, local residents free, like we're doing in the park. We haven't talked about that. How much do you think the market would bear would be something else. So I think how we do it is going to be, I'd like to see what the choices are. For the Polco folks, I bet this is not the first time that paid parking has come up. Perhaps you could offer something?
Absolutely. We can send some options your way if that would be helpful. I know this has come up actually a couple times, so.
Okay, have anything off the top of your head?
I do not, unfortunately, here for you today just because I'm not on the survey team, but I can have
Okay.
them compile a list for you.
Okay. I think what has worked in other places might be useful for us. Okay. So item 3, the previous one is gone. We're going to ask opinion about paid parking downtown. And then on number 5, we are going to leave that one as is. Well, this is talking about improving the ease of downtown public parking. I think maybe we take that one off of here. And then item 5 will simply be assessing and addressing the impact of tourism on our city's natural resources. I guess tourism is fine. I don't know if folks consider people who come in just for the day to hop in the river as tourism. I'm not sure that I would. So I think maybe the out-of-town visitors instead of tourism, maybe.
Or
I
river
don't know.
recreation or something like that.
Yes. Perhaps we could work on that, but I think assessing what the effect of people who do not live here and come in, and sometimes it's a benefit to us, and sometimes we have to pay a lot to clean up after them. So I think having what people know. I think perhaps what might be helpful, and y'all tell me this, is to let people know how much we pay to do that. And if we include the amount that we're paying so that people know how much that costs, cost of cleanup. Are y'all okay with all the stuff I just put out there? Yes, 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 yes. Ms. Garza? I hope she's a yes. Okay, then, Ms. Surley, do you have enough from us to get started?
I know we cut some of the meat, so I didn't know if maybe my colleagues had any other ideas. I mean, I know one of the things, I went through each of the categories, governance, economic, so on and so forth. Thankfully, we're rated higher as far as trust in the federal government. But I mean, I am interested to see like preferable ways of participation. Like, how can we, I don't have the workshop question off the top of my head, but perhaps a question on preferred ways to participate. I know we've been trying as a city to continue to have people show up to events and things like that. I know our most recent planning thing at Centro, a lot of people heard word of mouth. So like knowing those things would help with future participation.
Something that hit me when I was reading the applications for our board and commission, and we get this a lot on these applications. Sometimes it's I'm new to this community, sometimes not, but there's I just want to give back, and I'm thinking board or commission is great, but so is volunteering at the food bank and some of the other things. There's a lot of nonprofits that could use other help, and so I'm not sure how we might communicate that. So that's what, and I'm thinking when people say they want to participate, they want to participate in government, or do you spend your time, you know, participating with your church or your children's activities, and that's why you don't maybe have time to pay more attention? I think it could be a fuller question, but we have our 5 questions now unless we don't do the parking one.
Because are we still doing the economic development?
I took that one out, but
So we have,
parking
the
went in its
parking,
place.
the alternative, okay.
Unless we try to slide it back into 5, number 5.
I guess my question is more so like, what do we do? Like, after we get this survey and the results, what do we do as a city with this? And how does it guide the way we move, the way we make decisions, so on and so forth?
We'll get this back before vision, right?
We should have it back before vision, yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay.
Then I would ask, like, we apply it in that session. I mean, there's many things that I was looking at surveys that we focus on, but are not necessarily the primary focus that was given in this survey. So just trying to make sure that we're actually aligning ourselves with what we're going and asking people to participate with.
I believe in '23, we did look through this at our vision workshop. When this was in '22, I may have the year off.
There was a discussion about it, yes.
Well, and the other thing is that, you know, this council has said that you want to see the participatory budget, you know, process, and that's something we've been working on over the last few years, and we're going to continue to try to add more. And so the community survey is one thing. We are committing to wanting to do something that is more of getting some feedback from community members prior to visioning in regard to some of this. So we might take some of these questions and look and see how we can get more qualitative data, you know, to provide to y'all during visioning. So we definitely are wanting to get that started earlier so that you get some citizen input more before the visioning work session that we have with mayor and council, that work day. So,
I think some other data, how many children are eligible for free lunch? What was the activity of the food bank the previous year? Some of the social service folks, what's their basically activity has been? And what is it? Is it more or less? And then we look at, is the more the same increase as the population, or is it more or less than the increase? You know what I'm saying? I think some of that data would be helpful to know. But for the survey. Ms. Garza. Yeah, her screen keeps coming off and on, so I don't always notice she's there. Ms. Garza, what you got?
Yeah, I think just piggybacking off Amanda's question, like we've done this before. I can't quite remember what the price was, but I guess can staff provide like tangible ways or like some concrete examples of how past survey data has been used to shape like any policies or anything like that? Because to me, it's like important that our neighbors can see that we're making like a good investment in our money. Like, are we asking questions for the sake of asking them, or beyond visioning how our staff using this really, I get like robust and representative data within their like daily activities.
I'll have to let somebody else respond to that.
So I will say that from the communications question, that we did take those responses, and that is where we have leaned into sharing the information out to the community. So that's it from the communications, the main part from the communications side. And of course, a lot of these answers that y'all see, the responses that y'all see, is something that we hope that is beneficial to council as y'all make y'all's decisions going forward with the different things.
Yes, and I'm glad we're getting an update. Okay. So what I have so far is we're going to keep one as is, adding family entertainment. Item 2, as is, adding family entertainment. 3 will be paid parking downtown, right?
That's what I have on my list. Yes, ma'am.
Somehow I put my notes in the wrong place. Okay, the how do you get your information, and if y'all have some more to add, but we're going to definitely add News Hub and the mobile message boards. If you need something else, that's fine. And then we're going to perhaps modify the addressing the impact of tourism or out-of-town visitors on our city's natural resources. That's our 5, unless we change something. And then Ms. Rodriguez wanted to talk about how do you participate, or how would you participate, or how do you find out how to participate? Is that kind of where you were going with that?
That we have to workshop questions, but perhaps I could help y'all when I can put that in my head.
Well, that will be item 6, or we need to give one up, or we need to figure something out, because we've got our 5.
Yeah,
And
and
that
I
would
don't
be
even
in
know if we
addition.
gauged my colleagues if they're interested in that, so I guess first making sure that
Yep.
they're interested.
What do y'all think?
Can you repeat the idea? I'm sorry.
So maybe you can help me kind of workshop this in my brain. I know we've talked a lot about wanting to meet people where they're at so that they can participate, but I think we don't really have a clear idea of how people best prefer to participate, whether that's virtual, whether that's, coming straight to them. I would like us to kind of gauge that so we don't necessarily need a survey X amount of years. We already know, and that guide future efforts. I mean, we always talk about how to maximize participation.
Can we combine that with the final paragraph about how important is it? And then we can actually get the gauge of how much they want to be
So-
involved?
Just one thing, we might not have to combine anything. It really is by space of the survey that the questions take up, not necessarily by numbers. So it was 5 last time, but we could certainly do 6 if we're able to condense some of the wording.
3 was kind of long, so maybe we can,
And we can talk with the survey team and work on
Okay.
that to make sure that all of the questions that y'all want are included.
okay, so back to, so then, are y'all good with asking people, how you would like to participate, how can you find out about participation? How do you find out about participation? Mr. Scott says yes. I'm seeing yeses, so we're gonna leave it up to y'all to figure out, and I'm sure that Ms. Rodriguez and Ms. Garza can provide some extra information.
And just one clarification, because there was some conversation, this is about participating with the city government, not
Yes.
nonprofits, okay.
Yes.
No, I was going down another bunny trail, but I think for this, it needs to be with government. That's another topic for another day. Okay. Ms. Surley, have we gone through and completed what you need us to do?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Reyes, we're good? Then we will move on to Ms. Trevino, item 2.
Yes, ma'am. Receive a staff presentation, hold discussion regarding the Citizens Utility Advisory Board recommendations on utility fees and penalties, and provide direction to the city manager.
Ms. Reyes.
During the 2024 review of the Utilities Customer Assistance Programs, Council directed staff to conduct a cost of service study for the utility miscellaneous service charges as part of the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget and Citizens Utility Advisory Board processes. At the June 2026 budget workshop, Council added to that scope, asking the CUAB to also consider making a recommendation on penalty service charges, also known as late fees. Staff provided a presentation to CUAB on July 9th and received additional information requests, which were delivered on July 30th. CUAB has reviewed all charges and voted to make a recommendation to council, which staff will present today. These charges are proposed to be included for council approval through the budget ordinances in September. I'll now turn it over to Director of Utilities, Tyler Yorth. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Tyler Yorth, Director of Utilities, here to discuss penalty and miscellaneous service charges with you today. So we're going to cover a couple topics real quick. We'll cover the city code. I'll give you examples of residential and commercial bills. Talk to you about the CUAB recommendations and for the late fee penalties and on miscellaneous service fees. So just as a reminder, City Code 86200 stipulates that penalty service charges, aka late fees, will be fixed at 10%, and that's across the board. It doesn't delineate between different rate classes or different utilities. So a sample residential bill, typical, you'll notice it's about 944 kilowatt hours, which is just below our average for an average residential monthly usage, and the water at 4,300, our average is just at 5,000 or just over 5,000 gallons. So typical monthly bill, and if you look on the bottom left, you get to about $275 by the time you add in sewer charges, drainage charges, community enhancement fees and stuff, so you're at about $275 on that residential bill. Typical commercial bill, same thing. This one's small general services customer at just over 10,000 kilowatt hours in that month, and of course you can notice that they had usages that were greater than the first two water blocks and into the third water blocks, and of course their total bill on the bottom left is about $1,650 for that month. And of course we're here to talk about what none of you want to see, which is the delinquent notice. But in the upper right you'll notice that we have both the current bill, due date, late fee date, and then what the penalty would be for that. So as Ms. Reyes mentioned, we did take this to CUAB last Wednesday, who adopted our miscellaneous service fees and then also recommended that y'all approve a 5% penalty for all rate classes as opposed to the current 10%. All right, so what does that look like in a comparison for what we have today? So this is your same residential bill that you had a few slides back, and so just averaging that up, or rounding it up, sorry to say, it's $300 just to make the math look easier. Currently, you'll see on the left half of the screen in the three different shades of orange, you'll notice it's a 10% penalty, so that's currently $30. If you pay that, then you're 10% over your actual charges. If you miss that, then you'll incur a disconnect, and to get your electric turned back on is a $40 charge, which means you're now up to $70 or 23% of your original bill. And if you get to the water disconnect phase, then you can pick up an additional $40 for 110%, 37% of your original bill. Councilmember Scott?
Oh, was that part of the whether you had to do it manually or not, or that's just the push button, turn it back on?
So this is actually our current fees, which didn't decipher between whether you could do it manually or not. You'll see that you'll see the effect of that here in a second. Also on the left, just for kind of a reference, you'll notice that this bill was sent out on July 1st, and you can follow through the dates over down on the left as you go through progression from missing your original due date, and then having your electricity disconnected, and then finally having your water disconnected. Because of holidays, weekends, and not disconnecting on Fridays, et cetera, you'll notice this is 33 or 34 days start to finish between the time we sent the bill and your water's been disconnected. Now, on the right-hand side, you'll notice, and this includes the 5% recommendation from CUAB. So your late fee assessment is only $15 rather than $30. And then on the next line, your electric disconnect, standard residential, we do have the remote capability. You'll notice that the fee that we've had in place since 2014 was the $40. We now, with our new cost of service on all our fees that we completed and took to CUAB, that's now only $20. So now you've missed your late fee, you've got a $15 assessment on that. If you miss your electric and are disconnected, to get reconnected, that's now an additional $20 for only $35. So where you were at $70, you're only at half of that now for $35. But if you miss that and have your water disconnected, the cost of service to have your water connected, where we had a $40 charge, the true cost of service of that is actually $90. So there's some sensitivity to being late and missing your payment up front, but if you miss that all the way out, in this case to 33, 34 days, the actual cost of service is still goes down $5, but to assess the full amount of what it costs, you're pretty close to what it would have been prior.
So our total, and I'm adding this up myself because it's not here, is going from 210 to 155?
Your total fees on top of your bill was almost 300. So if you missed your late fee and were disconnected electric and disconnected water to get everything turned back on, would be an additional $110 today. What's being proposed and what CUAB recommended is on your right, that $105 in the middle.
Right.
That would be your note. If you missed everything and had
adding
everything
it up.
disconnected. But 300 and 105, so your bill would be 405.
I'm not worried about the 300. I'm just looking at the difference in the orange and the blue and the middle column of each. And it looks to me like the difference in fees from current to proposed is a difference in $210 and $155.
Oh, Mayor, I think
Correct or
the
no?
center column is cumulative, so it's only a difference of $5.
It goes down $5 from 110 to 105.
Because you're adding the 30, 70, and the 110 to come up with a total of
Yeah, that
210,
middle
correct?
column is
Well,
cumulative.
you're 15 down on the first one, and you're 35 down on the second one.
No, ma'am,
and-
you're 15
no?
and then you're 20 for a total of 35. And then the next fee is 90 plus 30, right, gets you to 105.
So that's our cumulative?
That is your cumulative total. So today, if you missed all
Okay,
3
I
days
see.
and were disconnected,
I was
you'd be
adding the wrong
110.
column.
Tomorrow, you'd be 105.
All right.
Is there a particular reason why you did the cumulative, even though some people don't have both?
So is the question, what would that look like if you did not have both electric and water utilities? Is that the question?
Because
Yeah,
some
I'm just,
people
like,
aren't in our electric
curious.
service area, as you know.
Yeah, like I'm not, and nobody in my neighborhood is, and like surrounding neighborhoods. So, yeah, I guess that's my first question. But then the second one is, can you explain again, like how you came up with I guess you said it was like an increase in like the actual service, like needed to reconnect water?
Sure.
Like
So
how,
what-
like,
So I'm going to fast forward and then I'm going to come right back to this. What we did since last fall when y'all gave us this direction, we went through all of our utility service fees, right? And we'll go through these here in a second. That's the second part of the presentation. And we actually went through and accounted for what does it actually cost us to perform each
Right.
one of these tasks? How many people, how many trucks, what kind of trucks, the whole all-in cost for us to actually perform each of these unit measures. And so we have tables of these with recommendations on what our current service cost is versus what we had on the books prior. And so the answer to your question for that specific one, the reason it costs $90 for a water reconnect is the cost of so the administrative charges that go along with that, plus it's an hour of a two-man crew to roll a truck and actually go out and do that task. And when you put our current rates into that, then that equals $90.
Administrative for?
The administrative fee is usually a quarter-hour fee for doing those and a quarter-hour for billing, and it's the time that it takes for processing the late fees within the system and creating work orders and closing work orders and doing that. So it's the administrative costs associated with what we have to do above our normal course of business to handle that transaction.
But those are people that are working for us already anyway, right?
Yes, ma'am, but this is a cost of service study. We're not asking for new people out of this. We're just saying this is
understand
what
that.
it costs us to do that business task.
And why is it 2 people in the truck? This is to just reconnect water, right?
It is a reconnect on water, and so that one, let me see. So, a water reconnect.
And Tyler, I don't know, I know that one thing that I've always felt uncomfortable about is sometimes with reconnects and disconnects in particular, to have one person go out there, people that are desperate and going through things, and so that's maybe a safety thing too.
That's a disconnect.
So-
This was reconnect, I
But
thought.
even sometimes people are still
Because
upset
it is
from having,
disconnected.
so that's just,
Okay.
that's one
So maybe a
thing.
safety thing.
I know some of it can be safety thing. I've never really been comfortable with people that have to go out there and
No,
do
I
that
get
on their own.
I mean, that's a good answer, but I needed to ask.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I have
Oops.
one more question
Sorry.
Ms. Garza?
about that. And these, all the water has to go, like I guess, disconnect, reconnect, whatever, it all has to be manual, right? Like all of them?
All the water steps are manual. There's no remote capability with the water system.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay, this one's a small commercial, same thing. So the 10% fee in the further left orange column is $165. Prior was the same 40 and 40 for a total of $245. In the blue, there is a typo. That middle line for electric disconnect, reconnect, 95 should have only been $90. So the total should be 83 plus 90 is 173. So the original, just the late fee with a reduction from 10 to 5 goes from 165 down to 83. And if you miss all your dates, are disconnected, and we have to reconnect you, the total bill instead of today's 245 for a small business would be 178. So the late fee goes down a little bit, and the total process charge, if you miss all your dates, also goes down.
Remind me again the number of days between electric and water.
Electric and water is 2 days.
Okay, I was thinking it was longer. Okay.
Disconnected electric and the reason you might have noticed that on this one is because the days of the week when that happens. So the July 31st was a Thursday. We don't disconnect
Right.
over the weekend, so that water one then, so that's why that looks like it's 5 days
I
when
think the point that
it's
I'm
really 2 days.
looking at is when people realize what's happening, because, your roommate threw away the disconnect notice and you don't know until you come home and the electric is off, that if you're able to get everything done at that point, you don't get to that third
That's correct.
line.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so at that list, electric reconnect, if you get that done, then there is that
Right.
no next step, right? We mentioned this just a little bit a few slides ago. We went through these pretty much line by line with the CUAB and talked about what each of these fees mean and how we got there. So, just looking at that second line to do that, that transaction on a commercial account now used to be $100. The recommendation is $120. But by the same token, the third line down, you can see where it's a remote capability on that residential meter. So the cost that had been $40 is now coming down to $20. So again, each one of those was studied literally, how do we do that task and what does that cost? And this was the outcome of that.
Tyler, actually, would you mind, I know the QAB board had a long conversation about the trip fee that was added. Could you explain that, please?
Yep, thank you. So the customer trip fee is something that, we did discuss it for quite a while. Customer trip fee on this one is, as an example, let's say that if you called us up in the middle of the afternoon and said, hey, I think I'm in a power outage, we would look at that with you and walk you through what we see in the system, which is that we do see that the meter's got full voltage. We would ask you to check your breaker box, those kinds of things. But if you still ask us, we want you to come and check our service for you. If we get out there and there's nothing wrong with the service, then that's the cost of that fee. On the water side, it would be the same thing. If we walk you through that on the customer service side, but we have to go out and find that you've got a leak somewhere on your side of the system. That's the cost for us to roll that truck and provide that service. And so that's on there. Happy to answer any questions about that. Some of the fees that you'll see that were removed, new account charges after hours. That's just a service that we just don't do anymore, so we thought we'd just clean the table up and take it out. Same thing with, let's see, that new service, new service after hours is that third one down. And then the reconnect after hours, again, it's not a service that we're providing right now, so we're just cleaning the table up by taking those off. Water, wastewater, same thing, right? We went down to the basis of that. So new service charges are what they are. The disconnect fee, reconnect fee is that $90 that you saw earlier, and then an update on some of the other prices. And
So
then
for all those that say remove, those are things that we don't do anymore?
They either are, yes, ma'am, they're either things that we don't do anymore, or in some cases, like, let's see if I can find one here.
I'm looking at like water, wastewater, and customer requested non-emergency disconnect or reconnect. I assume we don't do an emergency disconnect.
Dun, dun, dun. So on that one for water, so you're looking at like that third one up on slide 30 there? You said customer requested non-emergency disconnect, reconnect? Is that the one you asked about? I'm trying to answer the right one.
That was just one.
That's fine.
I get that we wouldn't do a disconnect. That would be, these are after hours, right?
That's a customer service non-emergency disconnect. So the electric equivalent of this one would be somebody who wants to rebuild their service or do something. They want us to come out on a Saturday and turn their power off so their electricians can do whatever. On the water side, maybe they need to be
A
doing
tree
something
fell on
within
their
building.
house and they're having to disconnect
Yes,
power
ma'am.
because of the
We would call
power
that an
line.
emergency basis, and this is being a non-emergency. If that's the case, we're just going to go take care of that.
Mayor, that's the exact example that we brought up during the meeting.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, this one was actually when they were having the tree removed a week later, so it wasn't an emergency at that point. The line didn't, the tree didn't hit the line, but to get the tree off their roof, they were going to have to disconnect.
And question mark on the bottom. So today, we're not asking for a vote. We're just in a workshop. But if you have any direction for us to go back and, before we bring these fees back for formal approval through the ordinance process and budget in September. So wanted to get these in front of you since they're new, get these in front of you today.
Okay, so for the recap, y'all were addressing two things. One was to get the actual cost of service and get that into the fee table, and then also to address our concern about the disconnects and reconnect fees. So it was actually two things.
Yes. Well, actually, late fee and reconnect
Correct.
fee, if you may.
Yes.
And so QAB looked at our study, our cost analysis, and has recommended, and I believe their recommendation letter is one of the attachments in the packet, that they recommended 5% across rate classes. So a little bit more sensitivity there, but by the same token, I wanted to make sure pointed out that, you
And
know,
you
at some
said-
point, cost of service kicks in too, right? If you,
And you said it's been some years since we've done the cost
2014.
of service? 2014.
2014.
Okay, council questions?
I do, if nobody else.
Go ahead. You can be first.
When QUB had the discussion around the late fee aspect of everything, were there any potential exemptions? Did anybody talk about whether that be seniors, whether that be people who have disabilities, who live on fixed incomes? Was there any consideration given to those populations when we talk about, you know, actually issuing out these late fees?
There was not.
I
Okay.
don't think they have
Or,
that
or people
information.
in like the housing authority and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm just like, any potential exemptions?
No, they
Or
did not,
considerations.
they did not bring that up or ask about it. So the question for them was, their primary focus was, if 10% was a fairly standard thing, that was 5% a sufficient step forward versus, you know, cost of doing business, but we didn't break it out into any other demographic than that.
Yeah, I worry about the people with sort of compounding financial difficulties. So that's why I mentioned those particular vulnerable populations that I know in other areas of issues that we sort of extend consideration to. And so I'm wondering, when it comes to this specific issue, we would be interested in extending consideration in that way.
We do have our utility payment assistance.
So what I'm hearing, though, from a member of our community, though, is that assistance, while great and all, it doesn't apply to late fees. And so unless somebody tells me that otherwise, they were not able to pay their late fees with that assistance. So if I'm already in the hole,
You want that one?
If either John or, I
Yeah.
see Grisel walking forward too,
Yeah, I
so
was
either.
that's who I was looking for.
Yeah, either or can answer that.
I just wanted to, actually, I want to start first on a comment that you made, Ms. Rodriguez, and we do have a senior exemption penalty process for late fees, so there is a process that seniors can go through to have late fees removed, a late fee removed from their account. So we do have that in place. That is an exemption.
and we define senior 65 and up or 60? 60?
60.
Okay.
And how do you know this?
It is, it's on our website for the customer to
No.
go to.
Is it on the notice?
Basically, the customer has to come tell you, though, is my point. When I say, how do you know that they're a senior?
We wouldn't have any way of knowing.
Yeah, we wouldn't. And the senior actually submits the form and turns it in to us.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Somebody has to come in and apply for that. Otherwise, you have no way of knowing who those folks are.
Yes, ma'am.
That's where I was going with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
How else are they gonna know?
exactly.
So
So-
this exemption is for our late fees?
Yes. And then we just also wanted to just mention that with the utility payment assistance, that does cover everything on the bill. So that would cover the late penalty and any kind of connection fee,
Okay.
reconnect fee.
Maybe if we can verify that with the organizations that we put in charge of that, because I'm hearing otherwise.
What? I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Only the late penalties, not the reconnection fee.
Okay,
I'm sorry, say that again.
okay.
It covers the
It covers
cost.
the late penalty, it does not cover the reconnection fee.
So yes to late fees, no to reconnect.
Correct.
Did we make that decision when we set all that up? I don't remember talking about it.
I don't think that was a discussion topic.
It was already in place.
Yeah, I think that was just a process that's always been in place.
So that's what Community Action was doing. And so when we added the others, we didn't have this conversation. So I can understand why whatever we've been doing, we keep doing, but I wish we had talked about it. That's on us.
In theory, someone could get assistance, pay their bill down to a zero balance, but if they're still don't have the money to reconnect, it would be sitting in the dark, even though they're now at a zero balance.
Yes, sir. They would still have that reconnect fee on their account. We do also offer payment programs. So if the customer wasn't able to make that, if it was $40 that was remaining on their account, we could set them up on a payment arrangement to give them time to make that payment.
So they would be reconnected? If they
Yes.
could, if they made those payment arrangements, so they wouldn't be left in the dark, they would still have time to
Right.
make those?
Okay, that makes sense.
I know that, and I don't have the bill number off the top of my head, there was a bill filed last regular session, that sort of would have created, of course it didn't go anywhere, but it would have created sort of a tiered system when it comes to late fees. So, right, like on the first couple of days, it's $5 flat. After a certain amount of days, you're seeing 2%, after a certain amount of days, so on and so forth. It's not that fixed rate that we're sort of talking about here today. That was because they had discussions around how, yes, the philosophy of late fees is to encourage people to pay, but if I'm already in the hole, no matter how much encouragement that you give me from a punitive way, doesn't mean I can change my situation. And they found out that these fees can also be counterproductive to encouraging people to pay their bill. So have we talked about sort of a tiered system before? I'm still interested in the exemptions too, like aside from just the 60 and up.
Before you go any further, you're saying like each day it changes? For us, it's a flat rate. It doesn't keep going up, does it?
Correct.
No. So
Okay.
the bill would have proposed a 10% cap, which is what we have right now, right, altogether. And that's at the final stage. Like if it's already 30 days, you're at that cap. But what it also, the tiered system of it was based on the amount of days within that 30-day period. So let's say within the first 5 days, it would have been X
Or
amount.
would it be less?
Yes, if you pay it, within the first 10 days, and then it goes on up.
So that was Representative Gates' bill. He
It
started
was
off on.
Gary's bill? Wow, okay.
Ma'am?
Gary Gates is pretty conservative, so okay.
It was interesting. We were kind of surprised at that as well.
Yeah.
But he started off and it was something like 5, 7, 10 over a certain amount of days. It did get heard in the House, committee passed the House, went to the Senate where it died in committee over there. But the final version of it in the Senate committee had been rewritten where it was 2% after a week after you hit your due date, and then to 5, and then to 8, and then finally to 10. At something like 41 days. His original bill, you didn't get to the full 10% until 51 days after the bill was sent out, which quite a length of time there, right? In fact, that was one of the problems with the bill, is by the time you got to full late fees, you've already been disconnected in most municipals. So there were some mechanics behind it.
But
We
with
actually
this, we're
talked
at 5%.
What's that?
We've dropped from 10 to 5,
We dropped from
correct?
10 to 5,
Okay.
which
So
got us there.
I guess the
but-
thought was like, if I'm waiting on my check to clear, okay? Like I have every intent to pay, but I financially cannot pay until that check clears. Let's say it's 2 days after the delinquent date. It accounts for the fact that that person still made the initiative and is not necessarily charging them the full fixed rate of the 30 days that we're proposing.
Payment plan.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
two
We
things.
have something like that?
Two things on that.
Yes,
First
we
one is, if that's the case, come and see Ms. Avalos, we'll work that out.
Right.
The second piece of that, though, we did look at this when that bill was in session, and I think it was 2378, maybe it was 2368. And, but we talked about that, and what Ms. Avalos reported back was that our software didn't have sophistication enough to be able to stagger that out with that many days. And by that, I'm going to say if our software couldn't do it, then probably 80% of the state couldn't comply with that either. And so what you end up doing then is, if you can't make the software work, but you have to comply with that rule, then
Unfunded
all you do
mandate.
is you make your 5% is way out at 41 days now. And Tim, right, so it's essentially does away with late fees altogether. But if you know somebody that's in that situation, we would encourage them to come in. We were happy to make something work.
Well, I guess help me, y'all mentioned some sort of thing we already have in place. Can y'all kind of give me an explanation
On the
You
60-year.
talking about the payment plans?
on the payment plans
Payment plan?
aspect?
Yeah.
Hello, Christine Avalos, Utility Billing Manager. Okay, so as far as the payment arrangements, if they need that, All they have to do is just call at least the day before date of disconnection, and we can extend them out for 2 weeks if they need that request. If there's anything that's needed a little bit longer, then what the clerk does is she escalates that to a supervisor or myself, so that we can grant that on the account.
So if I pay, just so I'm understanding correctly, if I pay within that 2 weeks, there's no fixed fee that I'm having to also include within that payment, as long as it's in those 2 weeks?
Well, no, the penalty still applies. It'll still get billed on the account.
So it's just grace on me getting all of that money together within those 2 weeks?
But your power and your water's still on.
Well, yes.
And then we also have, of course, the programs, the utility assistance that's out there, which now we have the four partnering agencies, so that this helps the customers get ahead. So in situations where, like you're stating, that, you know, they can't pay and they're trying to get ahead, well, now they can get help up to 4 times a year that can kind of help them jump ahead with paying their utility bills.
Another question.
Mr. Scott?
So you're saying you can do that 4 times a year for the extra help if you need an extension?
Within the fiscal year, yes.
Okay, so the problem runs into, like she has, Ms. Anna said, that basically you don't have enough money to pay it to begin with. And so you're still adding those fees in there. I would think if somebody called in, that basically you would freeze it at what their payment is and not have those fees put in there, so they can pay what's, you know, the balance, as opposed to worrying about late fees on top of that. I think that should be an option we should look at.
Okay.
And I think that's absolutely an option. I think it would be interesting to see if that changes people's behavior in terms of having incentive of even paying on time ever. And so, so that's a question that we'd have to look and see if that policy was made, because then you really don't have due dates for that, right? Because you're saying that someone
No, I'm
can-
saying if you called in.
Yes.
You have to call in and have an issue.
Yes.
So, and you only have 4 times a year that you can do that, just like trash bulk pickup.
Okay, that was the part I wasn't getting, that it was
Okay,
only 4
yeah.
times a year.
No,
I
'cause you
thought
said
it
it was
was
4
that someone
times a
could do
year.
this
No,
in
4 times a
perpetuity.
year is when you can go get assistance from 4 different agencies who will pay your bill.
Okay, so that's even different.
That's completely different.
Okay, well, I'm suggesting the same thing, at four different, you know.
If I can suggest one
times a
thing
year.
about that, this is not, you know, we didn't re-examine these fees since 2014 on purpose. We're putting in our financial policy, we're gonna revisit these fees every 3 years at a
Right.
minimum. If you guys need to make that change from 10 to 5%, tell us to come back next year and we'll give you some different results from the financial and the utility billing and see what does that look like. And if you don't like that, we can tweak that then too, right? I mean, I don't want you thinking, you're not making a decision that you're gonna have to live with for another 10 years. We can track this, make the change, see what happens. Let's see how effective it is. Let's see what your customer, you know, your constituents' feedback is compared to our customer feedback, and then see where that goes. So just something to think about. It's not a permanent decision that you're making.
I need to go to Ms. Garza, who's got her hand up, and then I have a question. Ms. Garza?
Yeah, so I guess it would be helpful for me to see, like, to what extent the, I guess the senior exemption or whatever is being used. I think that would be helpful, to see. And then, can you guys give me an update on the internal utility assistance, like the donations that we that people opt into on their bill? I know there was like a lot of confusion about where that money was being put. Like, what are the processes now to handle that money?
Go ahead, and then I've got something else to bring up. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm going to respond to that the way I understood the question, Ms. Garza, so just let me know if I don't address it directly. So internally, as of April 1st, we began advertising on the utility bills that any donations could be used for non-city utilities. So that is we are accounting for any donations received after the first separately so that those donations can be used on non-city utilities. For all of the donations, it was roughly $40,000 that we had received up to that point. That amount of money is still being used to augment the $120,000 that City Council currently approves annually for utility payment assistance. So in the event that we go over the 120, we would have that $40,000 to use to cover any overage of that 120.
The 120 gets distributed by whom?
I'm sorry, ma'am, I didn't hear the question.
It's distributed by whom? It's the,
Yeah, it's across those, the 4 different providers that we use.
Yeah, I always just assumed that the city was going to like use that money separate, right? So I guess help me understand. That money historically has just been in a piggy bank to be tapped into once the 100-something thousand has been used up. When has that ever happened, right? Like, I mean, has that ever happened?
Up to this point, it has not. We have never used all of the $120,000. We budget $120,000 annually. It's not necessarily donations that has built up. There's $120,000 budgeted annually into the system that all the ratepayers, it's built into the rate models to make sure that we have $120,000 annually that will be there for utility payment assistance. In addition to that, we've had $40,000 of donations made and up through April 1st, and that $40,000 will just augment that $120,000.
That hasn't
But-
happened.
Right, but
Well-
historically
Which
that hasn't happened.
happened.
but let's back up about 3 steps. And that is, we need to recognize that Community Action, who was our only provider to pay these, had access to $250,000 and see something funds.
Yes.
And they didn't always get through that. So that's why that 100,000, 120, whatever it is, was still available, and why that 40 had never been touched, is because
Correct.
we'd never needed to. It's my understanding, and I hope I'm wrong, but that source of funding is now gone.
Yes, that is true. Was it as of January of this year?
Sometime or another. So
that they
that's
lost that funding.
$250,000 that was helping people in San Marcos pay their utility bills that's gone. So now it's on us, the 120, the 40, the addition to the 40. And I hope I'm wrong, Ms. Pettis, Carrie, whatever you can provide, just tell me I'm wrong and we'll all be happy.
Partially.
Okay.
So the CEAP program has continued and has been renewed. The water one, LEHAP, that program is the one that is no longer continuing.
So the
That was
el-
for water.
The electric is still there, the
Yes, ma'am.
water is no longer there.
Correct.
Well, that's helpful.
Yes, and earlier in the summer when we had a meeting with Community Action, they shared that that funding was drying up for this fiscal year, and so they were beginning to tap into then their allocation of the city's program.
Okay, so how much funding will they get? Whatever, is it on federal fiscal year?
Yes.
Okay, so October, how much money will they
No,
get?
sorry, they begin in January.
Okay, whatever year it is.
Right, and so that's part of the lag of why their application doesn't open up until the 3rd week of January, just to allow for them to get that
Okay,
application.
so we should know now how much money is available this year. Do we know what that number is?
On their end,
Uh-huh,
they have not shared that, but we could find out.
okay. Because I don't know how
guess-
much of that money was electric and how much was water. I don't know if it was half and half, 3/4, 1/4. I do not know the split.
sure.
Okay,
We could find out.
all right. Thank you. Just
I have
something
a
to know.
quick follow-up question.
ma'am.
No, that's really good context and it's like really helpful information to keep an eye on. I just wonder, is there a way to have like a chart that explains like the $100,000 or whatever that goes to, what did we say, community action? But like, what about the money that didn't we have money that went somewhere else, or was that like rental assistance?
No, there's 4 other providers that can do the utility assistance, and actually, I don't think they give the money out. Folks get like a voucher, correct? Yeah,
Correct.
they get a voucher, and that comes to us, and we go, okay, your bill is paid.
So the
Okay.
4
Right.
organizations are Community Action, Salvation Army, Business and Community Lenders, and Communities in School. And so that was allocated. We hope to be able to provide an update to council as soon as we kind of reconcile where we are. They provide utility billing with kind of a final report each month, right? And that's confirmed on our end. And so we'll be able to provide where we are. But
And that's
the funding
from
is
the
getting dispersed.
100 and some thousand.
Yes, and in our meetings with the different agencies, we explained, let's get through this 120,000 first, and then we could start rolling into the 45 or 40,000.
But the 120 is limited to San Marcos Electric Utility, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the 40?
Yes. And then everything
But the-
after April
but the-
1st will then
Is
be open
open to
to
other-
the other. And so Ms. Avalos has been working with the other providers with an MOU for that.
Thank you.
That's helpful to know. Yeah, okay, I get it now. I think I get it now.
Okay, Ms. Rodriguez?
Oh, I'm sorry, was one more question.
Well, I'll come back to you,
Oh,
but
it's
Ms.
okay.
Rodriguez has
It's
one.
okay, if it's
We're
on your mind.
really running out of time for this conversation. We've got several
Well, maybe
executive
we should
sessions, so-
schedule out these things more efficiently because these are important conversations, Mayor. The applications for all these entities, are they the same?
For 3 of
Like
the
the-
4, Community Action said that they would not be able to use our universal application. However, the other 3 are.
Do we know if they differ in like substantial ways from the one that we?
Community Actions is lengthy, and that was part of, I think, one of the challenges and barriers for folks.
Yeah.
It was a lengthy application, and the process takes about 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, the thing is, that's their application for
everything.
everything.
Well, 'cause the
Right.
And the
federal.
reason why I came up with the idea of, let's have some other agencies who could distribute this money, is I'm just gonna call it maybe a short form, and the money could be available in a matter of a few days as opposed to weeks. And so that's what these other groups are doing is, okay, if I call it short form?
Yes.
Short form, and they can turn that money around sooner.
The other
That was
piece,
the whole purpose of getting these other 3 agencies.
right, and with Community Action, if someone has already submitted an application, say January, and they're in need of this assistance, they could just reach out directly to the case manager. They don't have to go through the process, again, because their application is good for an entire calendar year.
Or maybe if they've even gone through with the application for maybe even other services.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, to my understanding.
Well, my question was, I know you mentioned like a upcoming report that'll be made available to us. Do you know off the top of your head that within that report, was there any determination on somebody's ability to pay? You know, on the council side, I know we hear, and I'm sure y'all have heard that longer than I have. The philosophy is this, well, where will the incentive to pay? I don't think it's lost on people that they need to pay their bills. I think it's an ability of, I can't.
Right.
And so what are we doing to actually determine, one, if they can't, and 2, what's the recourse for that?
So there's nothing in the report that will say that definitively. In our conversations with our different community partners, I mean, they've shared, right? Like Salvation Army's model is all about being emergency assistance, right? And so they walk through that with the client. Typically, Community in Schools, right? They have that established relationship. They have an understanding of what's going on. And then BCL is also having those conversations, but we won't necessarily have those numbers. Part of the tracking form that each of the agencies does provide us with looks at, did this person qualify because they're a senior, because they have a child 5 or below in the household, are they low income? And so that information is available to us and will be provided in that report.
Okay, yeah, because, I mean, I get it. I get the cost of service. I get needing to make up all of these things. I do. But you can't tell me that the vast majority of people who choose not to pay these things is because they don't want to. So I don't think we've addressed that yet in this discussion. I know we're limited on time, but I think that was sort of the precipice as to why late fees was being introduced to QAB in the first place, I remember us having that conversation. And yes, I appreciate the reduction from 10 to 5%, but it's still not addressing the people who do not have an ability to pay.
And I'd still rather see a flat rate than a percent.
Mayor, I have, I guess, 2 questions and then just a comment. So my first question was, so I understand how we did this study, and then like with the disconnects specifically, there is a cost associated, right? Like it costs us to go, or I guess, disconnects and reconnects, to actually go and disconnect or reconnect services. The late fees are just 100% punitive, correct? Like there is no actual fee that we incur as a city because they were late?
That's correct. That's correct.
Right. And then, so I guess my question with that is, and kind of to Councilman Scott's point about the reconnect fee, if the late, specifically for people that are using our partner agencies and the utility assistance, it looks like the late fee is, $15 average late fee versus a $20 disconnect fee. Would it be possible to just create a fee waiver that's like an additional step? So when they come and ask for assistance, we're paying the late fees and the actual bill, but they're still gonna have to pay a reconnect fee, or I guess the disconnect and reconnect fee. Is there any way those partner agencies can just, in explaining to them, like, okay, you're at a net zero, but you're still gonna have to pay to get reconnected, is that gonna be an issue? And if it is, then we have an additional form that's a waiver of that reconnect fee, so that it's no longer, you know what I'm saying? And it ties it to only being able to do it 4 times a year, because you're only able to fill out that form when you're getting utility assistance. So to Mr. Scott's point, where he wants to limit it to 4 times a year, you're only able to waive your reconnect fee if you're using utility assistance, and you're only able to use utility assistance 4 times a year. So it kind of ties them together. Because I'm still kind of.
It's the full payment.
Right, so it's
Okay.
because there's some people that might be like, okay, I have the $30 to get reconnected. I don't have the $400 in bills plus late fees. Right. So it's like, okay, well, we'll pay you $400. It's gonna be $30 or whatever it is, $20 to get reconnected. Can you pay that? If they're like, yeah, I have that. Okay, well then, they move along. They pay their reconnect fee. Basically, they restart. If they're like, no, I literally don't even have the $20 to restart, then there's an additional form they fill out to waive those $20 as well, and now they actually get their lights turned back on, paying 0 and restart at 0 rather than restarting at a $20 fee to turn it back on.
Certain number of times per year.
Right, because I'm saying, because that's how we can tie it to where, because if our partner agencies are the only ones that can offer that form, then you're only offered that form up to 4 times a year, because you're already getting your utilities waived.
Because it's part of that overall
Right.
assistance program.
Yeah.
And then you have the assistance programs, because I hear what Councilmember Rodriguez is saying too, and Councilmember Garza, is just that, it is about trying to make sure we take into consideration the people who truly are having trouble paying. It's not the people who are trying to do that, that not pay their bills. There are those that genuinely are having trouble. And so if it is about doing it so many times per year, that's one thing, versus having it be in perpetuity.
Right.
Just because that somebody's got to pay for it when it comes to kilowatt hours or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And so then that makes it a lot more difficult. But if you have these payment plans and you have these payment assistance programs that help for people who truly are having an inability and can substantiate that, then I think that that's the way to kind of help with addressing some of the concerns that have been heard.
Can I ask that all of this type of information go back to QAB and take all of these into consideration? Because something that I want to bring up, and I understand it's not possible in our system, but that I want to bring up is if somebody gets paid late on Friday and things I know we don't disconnect on Friday, but it could have been on Thursday. They're not getting paid till late Friday, Saturday. They're not going to get anything until Monday, but they can pay their bill on Saturday. They can get online, they can pay the bill. But yet they still don't have power or water until Monday. And
Because we don't do disconnects on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday.
it could have been on Thursday. It could have been disconnected on Thursday. but now they get paid Friday or Saturday. Well, Saturday, I'm talking about when y'all are closed. They can pay their bill online, I say that, but once they've been disconnected, they can't even pay online, correct? That's what's bothering me more than, well, not more than the other.
And with our
But that's,
current,
that is a problem, and
With-
I understand from
Right.
extensive conversation, our software doesn't allow that now.
correct.
I don't understand why there's not software somewhere that can do that, because I'm not saying I want somebody to have to go into the office just to unlock that and process it. I'm not sure why it's even locked, but how to do that, but then somehow, something in the payment system lets folks know to do the reconnect.
We have talked about that, and I know that there is definitely a desire to get software that does it. We've got to figure out with an upgrade that we have in the budget to look and see, is there going to be an ability to do that? If not, do we have to go out for a whole nother RFP
Well, you don't
on
wanna
our
start
utility
over.
billing software, which is going to be a stopgap?
Yeah.
The difficulty is that our utility billing staff didn't take the jobs knowing that they had to be on call.
And I'm trying to keep that from coming. I'm trying to
So-
get this to be an
Yes.
automated thing.
Agreed.
And utility, and I'm still gonna call it payments instead of billing, because that's what we're talking about is
Correct.
payments. The bills are gonna go out, no problem with that.
Correct,
But and I'm not talking about wanting people, I just said that.
right.
But if somebody can get in and pay the bill,
That'd be our desire as well,
Yeah.
and that definitely is what we're working on the software component.
okay.
And I just wanted to
I just
add-
wanted to bring that up and make sure that's
No, I'm
out
glad you
there
did.
on the table.
Yeah. I'm glad you
And
did.
Christine and her team has continued to follow up, with the software vendor. And within recently, it was discovered that there may be a way to set the process up to where, someone who is delinquent is able to pay online and a notification can be sent out. This is just more recent as Christine and her team has continued to work through with the software vendor, so they need to test it. But it is possible that with our software, we can make that happen. We'll have to follow up with council once that additional testing is done.
Okay, or in the next upgrade, is there a user group for this software?
Yes, there is.
And that's the kind of stuff that y'all talk about, because I bet we're not the only people that would like to have that. And that's when you lean on the software company to make changes.
Mayor,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just, I
Hold on,
think.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'll come back to Ms. Reyes and then you.
So just one more idea, since we're, I guess, sending ideas back. So I guess going back to the example timeline here, where a bill comes out June 16th, the bill's due the 3rd, on the 7th, there's a late fee assessed, and then so on and so forth, all the other dates. If, say, someone gets their bill, or it's due July 3rd, they know they're not gonna get paid till July 10th, for example. Is there a way to where if they come to us before July 7th, which is when the late fee would be assessed, and pretty much do like a payment arrangement, whether that's actually you setting up a credit card, whatever, for the money to come out on the 10th, but if they do it before the late fee is assessed, they not get that late fee assessed. And then if for whatever reason on the 10th that payment doesn't go through, then we just retroactively put the late fee and follow the disconnect schedule. So kind of giving them that extra, if you're being proactive and you're knowing that you're not gonna be able to pay it on time, but you do know when you can pay it,
Yeah.
not being punitive.
That,
because
that's
they're
one of
trying
the
to work
things
together.
that I'm talking about, all these different situations for QAB, and I'm pointing at Mr. Mendoza because he's our representative on it, for them to look at all these different types of things, because you're coming up with some creative stuff. I like it, but we're not going to solve that
Right.
today.
Madam
Well,
Mayor-
and that's what I'm saying,
Madam
like, if
Mayor,
that's an idea,
CUAB
we
is
send
your
back to
board, so
Yes.
you can give them whatever direction you want. I'm just gonna have to step up and say, I question that because you're asking our board, who's established to talk about cost of service and those other things, to make a philosophical decision on how you want late fees to work. We really need that guidance from you. I mean, Ms. Dobbins is here, representing CUAB, but I'm thinking what we need to hear from you is an instruction on what y'all want, and we will come back and tell you whether we can do that or not. But I think you're getting outside CUAB's charge by asking them to go through all the different philosophical conversations. So I think that's a decision, because ultimately, all we're gonna do is bring it back to you, just like we did the 5%, right? So we're really coming to you today saying, give us guidance, we'll put it in that rate structure and bring it back to you, is kind of where we already are.
There are people
Agreed.
in our community, and if their charge is strictly cost of service, then I think I would be open to looking at their charge and changing it.
I do agree with that, though. I mean, because without all of us here, we've all had this discussion. Obviously, not all of us are members on that board to be able to relay back this discussion and make sure that whatever conversation they have is in tangent with what we've already talked about. Then we're going to end up right back to his point, right back to where we are now.
We're still missing a council member who had very strong
Exactly.
opinions about this, so this may not even be the best time to even do anything with it, to bring it back.
And speaking for myself, I mean, because just like my last question was more, I guess, I mean, obviously, I'd have to convince at least 3 of my colleagues that it's a good idea as well, but my question was more rooted in, is that even possible to do something like that?
And that's what I was asking, is that all these different permutations of things, what can be done, what can't. But I'm reading to review the financial performance and resources of the City of San Marcos electric, water, and wastewater utility systems for purposes of providing advice to the council concerning the business aspects of such financial performance and resources, including rate levels and fees.
I mean, I'm not saying, my point was not saying it isn't necessarily in line. I'm just saying this is a conversation, to your point earlier, that y'all have been having for years now. And so, I mean, if council feels one way, then I think it just should be council's baby. Don't get me wrong, I love community participation, but I can tell you, the people who've reached out to me don't even know QAB's a thing.
Right.
They're coming to me as a council member because they know that I have the purview over it.
Well, that's why I'm talking about them looking through, what does the software allow? What can we do with what we have? Some of the creative things that Mr. Gonzalez has come up with all those different things that we've talked about. What are doable? What's not doable? What might be doable with the new software? And come back with some options for us. Either that, or we're gonna need another work session in another 2 hours.
But again, though, without, like, when we talk about doable versus not doable, they may not have the full understanding of budgetary reasons. They may not have the full understanding of everything that we see. So when we talk about whether something's, allowable or permissible or even possible, they may be coming from a completely different standpoint. So that's what I'm trying to say is, we know it's eventually gonna come back here, and I can guarantee you, based off of this little experience I've had, there's gonna be issues regardless with what's presented, and so, just leave it, I mean, I'm not against leaving it as a council discussion to Mr. Horst.
That's
I'd
fine, we're
also
just
like
gonna
to
need a
offer
lot
one
more
other
time.
thing.
And that's fine, another day.
Or is it
So
also,
can I offer one other tidbit here? Is QAB's recommended that you go from that 10% down to 5%. Y'all can go ahead and approve that recommendation when we bring the ordinance fees back to you in September, and then give us direction to go back and study the heck out of whatever options you want to. But to solve the immediate problem, if you want to reduce that late fee,
Yeah.
10 to 5 is what's on the table. We can do both.
Oh, I'm
We
not
can
saying
reduce
to
the 10 to
stop
5
any-
and then keep going on too,
That's where I
as
was
opposed to waiting, continue. Because let's face it.
No, I did not mean to not do the 5.
Okay.
I did not say that. I didn't mean that. I don't want to stop any progress on anything else that we're doing. This is all information and other options that we can talk about to put into effect later. I'm not saying stop this. Never said that. Didn't mean it.
with the timing on it, I mean, is that something where you make things better than they are today?
Right.
By doing the 10 to 5, and make those things, those decisions, so we can bring that back. And then these are things that we can take, because we want to see what kind of changes that some of this stuff is going to have, on processes. The fact that we have heard y'all talk about the fees, and seeing with reconnects and how we can, if it's the 2 weeks or whatever, if that's something where if they do good behavior and they let you, I shouldn't say that, because it's not that, it's their ability to pay, it's not about behavior.
Right.
But it's if we're rewarding the fact and incentivizing the fact that, hey, we're recognizing you've kept your word, right? Like you've said, and we've given you this, and so that is something that we're saying that we are going to take back those reconnect fees, so that you don't have to pay them, you don't have to implement them ever. So is that something that we can even do system-wide? I mean, we have to look and see what kinds of automated processes that we could do. I mean, so that's enough to give us some things that we can work on to make it better than it is today, based on where we know this council wants to go. You've also said that people can do the payment assistance 4 times a year with the different companies, which we've implemented. We have these senior exemptions, we have some of these other exemptions, and then that gives some time between now and next time this gets discussed to actually have more thoughtful conversation about some of these options that have been brought up. And that way, CUAB or whomever it is that we want to work on that, but to really bring back some options, and we're not stuck up against a budget presentation or a budget ordinance that
Right.
has to be, that has to be approved, and you're making things better, like I said, than they are today for our residents who are struggling to pay.
Okay, so let me ask this question. Council, who is in favor of going from the 10 to the 5%? Yes, yes, yes. I realized I hadn't fully, and I hope that Ms. Garza would be the same. And for all the rest of the fees that were provided today, are y'all okay with those fees? The late and can't pay, that's, set aside that for a moment. But the recommendation that QAB has brought to us that includes the cost of the service, are we good with all of those?
I think the disconnection fees are just extremely high still. $40 as opposed to 90.
I'm okay with it.
Matthew's okay with it.
I mean, I concur with Mr. Scott.
I'm on board too.
I do too, but,
suspect so.
and I think we might have asked this when we discussed this a couple months ago, but off the top of y'all's heads, do you know what percentage of customers that have their electricity cut also subsequently have their water cut? Like, how many times is the problem solved when the power is cut and we don't get to the water?
Half, a third, 2/3?
No, all right. And just,
That's something we'd have to look into and follow up with council. We don't have that information.
yeah.
I think we've asked that before, so, yeah, we would need that. That is obtainable information though, right?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
Because I agree with Mr. Scott and with Ms. Rodriguez that one disconnect fee. or
Could we get
reconnect
that
fee,
slide back, please?
Going from 40 to 90.
So on that $90, let's not forget that this fee includes, we've rolled a truck out on the water side. We've rolled a truck out to go to turn it off. After the payments are ultimately made, we've rolled a truck back out there to go turn it back on, right?
No, yeah, and that's the part where I'm waiting, because I mean, I don't necessarily want us to lose money because we're paying
We're already losing
salaries
money
and
on this.
whatever. Right, which is the reason why I'm toying being okay with the $90 if that's what it truly costs for us to provide the
But
service.
do we have to go with what the actual cost is, or can we
No.
just
Just give me a number.
show some?
Just give me
I've
the
got you
number,
down
we
at
plug
40,
it in.
Mr. Scott. And
Because the
that
people are on
is,
duty to begin with. It's not like you're rolling out a truck at Saturday night
no,
to turn the
this
power
is,
on. You're talking about
this
somebody
is-
that actually has the job. They come in on Monday.
is this
they do
after
this
hours?
job.
No,
This is
Regular, yeah.
8 to 5. So they're already here, they're not getting an extra $90 in a paycheck for doing this, right?
no.
Okay.
So I'm saying, every time you do a cost analysis of something, that's not really what things cost.
Can we go back to electric?
No,
screen,
ma'am, I can't.
please? No, okay.
Oh,
All right.
hold on.
So
Maybe I
what
can.
we've got, let me just
No, I
read this
can't.
out. We've got a disconnect, reconnect fee that was 40, and y'all are proposing to go down to 20.
That's to take advantage of our,
On
that's your
electric.
residential fee where we can now do
Yeah.
that remotely.
So y'all don't want to go from 20 to 40, back to 40, do you? I
That wasn't
assume you
on
would
the
like
ta-
to
That
20?
wasn't on the table.
Yeah, it is. Can we cut the sass and let's just get to where we
Well,
want to
don't
go?
try to throw something else in there when it's not there.
It is. I didn't make this up on here.
Yeah,
So I'm
so right
assuming
now,
we want to take that. So, hold on. That's the residential. And then the disconnect, reconnect fee, commercial is what was going from 40 to 90. And then there's the customer requested that went from 50 to 95. There we go. There it is, third one. It was 40 and we're talking about 20. So we're talking about the second one, which is commercial. So that's the one you want to stay at 40?
I have a question on that for Mr. Hill.
Residential was 20, and then
Uh-huh.
residential fee for getting cut off, I said go down to 40. That's what I said. I can't see the board.
They're saying 40 to 20. 40
I
to
guess I'll
20.
ask my question. So for commercial, how do we define it? Like, does that include small businesses as well?
It is small businesses.
It is small businesses? Okay. And is there a third tier for like these larger corporation-style businesses? or
No, once you get too far above the single-phase residential meters, there's some technical issues with doing remote disconnect and reconnects
I
on
see.
those, and so that's why we have to roll a truck to those larger
Finding the page
services.
for you.
Okay, thank you for that context.
Okay.
So I guess the short version of some of my previous questions is, does the software or the system or whatever at this point allow for a fee waiver? Like, can someone manually go in there and just remove a fee?
Okay.
Because I think for me, I'd be fine with with all of the charges if we had a process for someone who truly could not afford it to fill out a form. And in my head, I'm thinking kind of like the JP Court when you they have the indigent form when you're filing a suit, but you can't afford the court costs. You fill out a form, it's pretty much automatically approved. So I'd be fine with changing all these as recommended if there was at least an option for someone who truly could not afford it to fill out a form and have it waived. And while I see the concern that people would just take advantage of that, in my opinion, people that just don't pay their bills and would take advantage for the most part, do it out of laziness more than anything else. Because even me, when I've been late on bills and stuff, it's just because I was too lazy to go pay it. And then I get to the point where it's like, oh, you're going to cut it. Okay, fine, I'll go pay it now. So I don't really think anyone's going to, or very many people are going to take advantage of it if they actually have to go in there and manually fill out a form and sign it and, declare that they're indigent or whatever verbiage we use. I think the fear that people are going to do that repetitively is somewhat irrational. And if it does come up, then we can address it at that point and limit how many times you can do that. If we discover that there's a pattern of people that are every month going in there and getting their disconnect fees waived.
I have a question. Third line up there says disconnect/reconnect fee. Was 40, now 20. But then we come down here and we have customer requested non-emergency disconnect, reconnect. What's the difference in those two?
So think of that first one as a non-pay situation versus the second set of customer requested is the one where we were talking about the tree was on the line, or you're getting your service redone, or upsizing your panel inside your business, or stuff like that, where you ask us to come
Okay.
and perform those services.
But if I
for you,
haven't
but in a
paid my bill,
non-emergency.
then I do pay my bill, and I need to get it reconnected for electric, what is the fee? For a residential,
Okay, so you were disconnected. and
for
then you-
non-payment.
A non-payment, and then you paid your bill, it's
Mm-hmm.
$20.
I got confused on that though, because $20 was just for a late fee, not a disconnection notice, so I thought. So it's the same fee, $20 whether it's disconnection or late?
No, but I'm having trouble with the clicker. Hayden, or is there somebody in back who can back the slides up for me?
You need to go back to the presentation?
So how much is it to actually?
There we go.
Okay.
So in this proposal, the old fee was at 10%, was at $30. The current fee is at 10%. The proposed fees at 5% would be $15. And then the electric reconnect fee of 20 in the light shaded blue.
Okay, so it's 20 if you're late, it's 20 if you got it disconnected.
So 15 is late, 20 additional on top of the 15 for a total of 35.
Okay,
if you've
So they're
reconnected.
recommending 20. Do you still want to go to 40? No. Okay.
Hey, that's confusing to me.
One last question. When we talk about the filling of forms that currently exist, do I have to come in person to fill out that form? I can do it online? And, okay, but if I do come in person, let's say I don't have access online, maybe you want to step to the public. So if because I'm thinking about what you said earlier. So if I just don't have access online and I come in person, do I as a person have to physically fill that out? Or can I have somebody who comes with me, who maybe drove me there? Can they fill that out on my behalf?
They can. The person would have to sign it, though, with their signature. And are you
Okay.
talking about the senior penalty form? Yes. And what
'Cause-
happens is whenever they come in and
Can you
fill
put
out
the
a
microphone
connection.
down? Thank you.
You're welcome. When you come fill out a connection form, the clerk will ask for an ID. And so if we see that it's 60 or older, they will tell them about the senior penalty. And then also, if you do it over the web online, we send the terms of agreement to the customer, and in the email, it'll give you all these options for like senior penalty, explaining about the DD 214 for a waiver of deposit, information on resource recovery. There's a lot of information on there. Their billing cycle, when the bill is due, the due date, penalty, all of that information.
And online, does it also have the ID component required?
Yes.
And what acceptable forms of ID do we consider?
It should be a government-issued ID.
Does that include,
Does the expanded identification card that the library issues, is that also an acceptable form of identification?
I think we can, you found out it had date of birth on there, right? Yes. Yes.
okay. Yeah, the purpose for my question too is like obviously in access, in terms of like online, but also I know some people, it's hard for them to physically, like if a signature is required, you know, are there alternatives that I could provide to if like I physically cannot sign? Just like thinking of the accessibility components to this.
Okay. We haven't crossed that bridge yet.
Okay.
But if it was presented, then, you know, I would address it, or one of the supervisors would go up there.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Okay, back to the list. For all the recommendations that were given to us, so that Mr. Hjorth and Mr. Locke can move forward, are we okay with those fees?
I still have issues with the water reconnect fee going from 40 to 90, but if, using this example of the $300 bill, if your total fees, penalties and fees goes from 110 to 105, then I guess it's still a net positive. So we can move forward now. I would say yes, I'm okay with it, but I'm still having issues with the water reconnect fee more than doubling.
That's the number I got stuck in my head, was that $90 from the water.
Here it is.
Yeah.
All right, so there are concerns with that one, and I'm concerned about that one also. If this is during the day, well, I'm having a problem with some of these reconnects. So Mr. Scott, we're gonna put you as 40 on that one?
Yeah, it's fine with 40.
Okay, Ms. Rodriguez? Mr. Mendoza,
Fine as a recommendation.
you like the 90? Okay, Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez, are you on the 40?
Yeah.
Ms. Garza, you still on with us?
Yes, yeah, my thoughts kind of echo Lorenzo's. I'm 40 for now, but I'm also gonna like sit with all of this and like flesh it out in my head more. I feel like we got a lot of information today.
Okay, are y'all good with all the rest of them?
Yeah, just in terms of when we say maximum punitive amount, if the goal is to make sure that people are educated and discourage bad behavior, then we need to be very clear on like what that amount is, straight up front.
So there's legislative caps that are involved there. And so I think that fee used to be $350, and the goal there by making it maximum punitive is if in between now and the next time the legislature raises that cap or something, that we can automatically just move to that. So if the fee, because we're talking about tampering and theft of service here, we're not talking about
Yeah, yeah,
late
yeah.
fees and inability
Yeah,
to
yeah,
pay.
I
We're
get
talking about
that.
bad actors.
No, I
And
definitely
if you're
get that.
stealing from the rest of your citizens, we want to hit you with the max
Right.
fine we can.
I'm
You
with
know,
that.
Mine's just more so ensuring people understand, like I get impending potential legislative changes and so on and so forth. But I think just being clear with people up front. I mean, because that's the logic we have for the late fees is to deter somebody from doing something. So if I'm just blankly seeing maximum punitive amount, let's say I do have nefarious acts, I don't know, I mean,
I can
that
get you
same
there. I can
logic.
get you there. What we'll do is we'll actually put, when we publish this on the website, we will put today's number in there. But if something changes 2 months from now so that number changes.
comply with
we're
it.
just
Yeah.
gonna, we're just gonna change, and it may go down.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
And I'm
whatever
fi-
that
I mean,
max
obviously, we
amount
wanna
is-
comply with the law,
Yeah,
but
so
yeah.
instead of y'all approving that number, we'll just go in and we'll make that change in
It'll
real
flow
time.
with whatever's legal.
That, that's exactly what I was gonna recommend.
Okay. So, Mr. Hjorth,
I guess, can somebody repeat the guidance that I have on the 90/40? I want to make sure I get that
we want to
right.
go back to the 40.
Okay, and that's on the
Water.
reconnect fee for water
For residential.
and
That-
electric?
Line 4.
Line 4. Okay, line 4, so on residential, on electric, it went down
It did.
2, but commercial went up from 40 to 90. So water was just 40 to 90 either way.
Right.
So were you also asking to change this number, or was it just on that water one?
It was just
Leave,
on the
leave
water
electric, commercial alone, and just change the water from 90 to 40.
for residential.
Residential, right. Got it?
That's the only change that we're making.
Okay.
I'm not trying to confuse people. I just have one question. When we talk about water meter test charge, and when it says fee for the testing amount of a meter at the request of the customer is applied if the results of the meter testing shows no issues found. There's no way remotely, let's just say I'm paranoid, I think something's really wrong, y'all get out there and nothing's wrong. There's no way to prevent that initial trip? Like in my head am convinced.
So this is not actually that initial trip. This is if we actually have to pull the meter and send that off to a water service lab to have it tested for you to verify that it was working correctly or not. And if it comes back, because you remember, that's not happening on day one, right? We've already had
Right.
conversations. We've gone through your bill for the last 6 months or a
Right.
year or whatever. And we pretty much
Look-
can tell this was a legit charge. There's not been any leaks, those kinds of things. So if you still want us to pull that meter and send it off, that's what it costs
see.
us now to do that transaction.
And the
Okay.
number of times they come back as being bad is,
0.
I
Because
thought it
watt-hour
was
meters physically.
1% or something, so.
No, 0. Watt-hour meters physically are not going to be able to speed up. They can only slow down with wear over time.
right, which is an advantage to the customer. Mr. Hjorth, is there anything else that you need from us?
I am so good.
I think I've tried to wrap this up. Ms. Reyes? All right. But there will be a further conversation about when there's an inability to pay or pay on time. All right, so now, got your sip of water, Mr. Trevino?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we're going to go to item 3.
The city
Thank
council,
y'all.
the city council will convene executive session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Government Code. A, Section 551.087, Economic Development, to deliberate regarding possible economic development incentives for Number 1, Project Hatchery. 2, Project AVSM. B, Section 551.072, Real Property, to deliberate regarding 1, the possible purchase, exchange, lease, or value of land as necessary for the development of a new city hall. And number 2, the possible purchase of real property off of South LBJ between Chatham Street and IH-35. C, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney to receive legal advice regarding a request for dissolution of the Cotton Center Development Agreement in conjunction with the previous filing of a petition for the removal from the extraterritorial jurisdiction of the city. D, Section 551.074, personnel matters, to discuss and provide annual appointee evaluations to the city manager, the municipal court judge, the city attorney, and the city clerk.
Looking for a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Rodriguez, seconded by Mr. Scott. Ms. Trevino.
Ms. Rodriguez. Mr. Saul Gonzalez. Ms. Garza. Mayor Houston.
Aye.
Mr. Scott.
Aye.
Mr. Mendoza.
Aye.
Mr. Lorenzo Gonzalez.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes 6-0 with 2 absent.
All right, we
5-0.
will recess to go to executive session at 5:15. We're going to the, I'm sorry.
I'll see y'all in like 10 minutes.
Regular meeting of the San Marcos City Council to order to, I'm sorry. Oh, that's right. We got to finish the other one. That's why my yellow page is in front of me. Thank you. I'm just trying to move things along here. Okay, we concluded our executive session at 6:03. It is now time for Q&A with the press and public. I showed 2 people signed up. They had signed up earlier. I see one in the lobby. Oh, both of them. I have Ana Juarez and Max Philbaker signed up to speak at Q&A. Are you speaking? Please hurry. Mr. Baker?
My bad.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. As a new professor at Texas State, it did not take long for me to fall in love with the Mexican-American community in San Marcos. In 2003, when I heard that vandals had desecrated and caused major damage to 2 Mexican-American cemeteries on opposite sides of town, gotta catch my breath here, sorry y'all. I volunteered to help and immediately felt right at home. Since then, I've been researching, living, and working with the local Mexican-American community. By 2004, the San Pedro Cemetery Association asked me to join their board, and I created a course called Community Research Projects, designed to provide students with the opportunity to learn about our local community and get some hands-on research experience. I served as the first museum co-chair for the newly established Centro Cultural Hispano de San Marcos and helped develop an anthropology internship program for those students who wanted to continue working with our local community. The more I learned, the more I realized how much the city and Hays County had neglected, marginalized, and even erased Mexican-American history and culture. I was stunned when I learned that A.B. Rogers Funeral Home documented Mexican decedents by their ethno-racial status as Mexicans rather than by their given names, and even more stunned to learn that when Tula Townsend Wyatt transcribed the funeral home records in the late 1950s, she erased the erased by omitting everyone listed as Mexican, in addition to omitting all but one Spanish surnamed individual. Although I've been known to get riled up and be quite critical at times, I'm usually very solutions-oriented. So when I retired in 2021, my first project was to try to get Mexican-American history and culture on the city and county's radar. Working with CITSE, I proposed to establish a Mexican-American and Indigenous Heritage and Cultural District. Bobby Garza Hernandez volunteered to help get it done, and our resolution was unanimously approved by the council. 4 years later, I implore you to support the Heritage and Cultural District by working with the county and local school district to purchase this historic property located behind Centro. Almost 900 people have signed a petition asking you to save one of the most historically meaningful properties for the Mexican-American community and dedicate it to memorialize our history and culture. Thank you.
Our next Q&A person is Mr. Max Philbaker.
Hi, yes, thank you. I will take the advice from the San Marxist and read my questions slower because I realize sometimes I just throw a lot out at you, and I wrote them down this time. So today you talked about the Citizens Utility Advisory Board. I would like to ask what is being done to stop the shell game of chasing existing money, which leaves funds on the table and people underserved? My follow-up question, or I have 2 other questions here. Why not pay down these utility debts like we did during the pandemic to use our money to pay ourselves instead of sending money out to these other organizations and then hoping that people get it? And then don't you think that cutting off water and electric utilities creates a public health and safety issues? If you cut their power off, do they need to go to cooling stations? Is that information supplied to them? Other resources when that happens? And my last question would be for Councilmember Mendoza, who serves as the ex officio member of the QAB. What of these conversations, were any of these questions asked during those conversations with QAB? I noticed you were just kind of silent during the meeting on those issues.
I think that's a response that will have to come to you by email.
May I ask a question since I still have question time here? I have been told that that will happen and it has not happened. Is that a responsibility of city council or city staff to respond to these questions that you keep pushing off? I attend this session very regularly and again, run a club focused on access and transparency to local government, and yet all of these concerns that I continue to show up and advocate for, not on behalf of just myself, but other community members, are going unanswered. So when will those questions be answered? The city's survey says that we should expect a 1 to 2 business turnaround for responses to community concerns, and yet that is not happening. So Madam Mayor and Mendoza and others that I've asked questions of, why am I failing to receive these answers?
I can't address all the myriad of questions that have been asked over the last few years.
So Madam Mayor,
There's a
am I
variety.
understanding that you are not actually intending on answering these questions? Or are you answering them for others and just not for myself?
I can tell you that for the utility part, there's further discussions that we're going to have that I think will probably address some of your questions.
That doesn't
I don't have an answer for that today.
You choose not to answer my question as to why I'm not receiving answers.
No,
Noted.
no.
Go ahead.
Quit pulling that, okay?
I know you hate when I smirk, but I'm
I
just
do.
generally tickled that that is a response from someone with your tenure, Madam Mayor.
I was
And many
giving
of you also up
I was
there.
giving you an answer regarding the utility questions, that we will be conversing on that in the future. I don't have an answer for you today. Okay, that concludes Q&A. And so there being no further business on our agenda, I will adjourn us at 6:13. It's my understanding that the